It started with the bell, not the front doorbell. Ours didn't have one of those. I mean the motion chime above the counter. It would go off whenever someone walked in or out of the store, and we all knew its sound by heart. High-pitched, 2 quick notes. It meant you had to look up. You had to acknowledge you heard it. But that night, it rang while I was in the back, restocking the fridge. No one else was working. Just me, closing up the small 24-hour convenience store on the edge of the highway. I wiped my hands on my shirt, stepped out to check the counter, and didn't see anyone there, just the door swinging shut. Nothing too strange. Maybe someone stepped in and changed their mind. Happens often enough, especially when the weather's bad, and that night it was pouring. Summer rain, thick and loud against the windows. I just shrugged it off and went back to the fridge. That was around 11:40 p.m. We closed officially at midnight, though technically the doors didn't lock. Customers could still come in for gas or snacks, and we'd serve them through the sliding glass window. It was supposed to be safer that way. Minimize the contact, our boss always said. I didn't mind. After midnight, it was just sweep, wipe, and wait for the 4 a.m. shift to show up. Around 11:55, the bell rang again. I came out with the mop bucket, expecting maybe a last-minute customer, but it was him. Tall guy, late 40s, I'd guess, wet from the rain, wearing a zip-up windbreaker and jeans. Nothing too weird about that. What was weird was how long he just stood there without speaking, just looking around, not browsing, not grabbing a drink or heading toward the counter, just looking. Hey, I said, we're about to close, just so you know. He nodded, didn't say anything, then walked slowly toward the chip aisle. Whatever, I thought. Let him grab his snack. I went back to wiping down the drink station. A minute passed, then another. I looked up again and realized I couldn't hear him moving. That aisle's small, maybe 12 feet long. I walked over to check, and it was empty. He wasn't there. I circled the store once. No sign of him. Not in the candy aisle. Not near the freezer, not in the restroom. Only thing I could think was that he slipped out while I wasn't looking. Still, the bell didn't ring again, telling me he left. Maybe I missed it. The storm outside was still going hard, and that sound gets drowned out when the wind's bad. I finished cleaning and shut the main doors just after midnight, slid the glass panel closed, and sat behind the counter. At 12:17, the bell rang again. I jumped, not because of the sound, just how suddenly loud it felt in the quiet. I stood up. The doors were still locked. There he was, same guy, standing in front of the drinks cooler, hands at his sides, staring at the glass, not reaching for anything. How'd you get in? I asked. He didn't turn, didn't speak. You need something? He turned his head a few degrees. Not all the way, just enough that I could tell he heard me. Then he opened the cooler door, reached in, and pulled out a single bottle of orange soda, walked over to the counter and placed it down without a word. All right, I said slowly. $1.89. He nodded, reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a 5. I took it, gave him change. He didn't leave. He just stood there, staring at me through the glass panel. You good? I asked. He nodded again, pocketed his change. Didn't touch the soda. Eventually, I walked into the back, pretending to check something. When I came back out a minute later, he was gone. The soda was still on the counter, unopened. That should have been it, but it wasn't. The next night, he came back. Same time, same pattern, no talking. Just appeared after midnight, stared for a while, bought something small, always a drink, and then left it behind. This happened 4 nights in a row. Each time, he'd come in, stay longer, never speak, never drank or ate what he bought. Just stood, always watching me through the glass after the transaction. By the 5th night, I'd had enough. When he came in again, 12:09 a.m. this time, I locked the inside door before he could reach the main floor. He stood outside it, hands in his pockets, watching. I went to the window. We're closed, I said firmly. He tilted his head again, slightly, then slowly reached into his jacket and held up a $5 bill, pressing it to the glass. We're closed, I repeated. He stayed there for over a minute, didn't move, didn't blink. just held the bill up to the glass. Then he turned and walked off into the rain. I didn't sleep well that night. I kept telling myself it was just a weird guy, maybe lonely, maybe off. But there was something about the way he stood, like he wasn't just watching, like he was waiting. The next night I called in, said I was sick. My manager didn't care. The night shift was quiet anyway, but the cashier who covered for me texted me the next morning. She asked, "Do we know a guy with a limp and wet hair? He stood outside the window for like 10 minutes last night, just looking." I asked if she called the cops. She said no, he didn't do anything, just stood there, smiling. That night I came in anyway. Didn't tell anyone. I waited in the back with the lights off. Just watched the monitors. At exactly 12:06, he appeared, right at the front window, pressed against the glass. Only this time, he was holding something, a piece of paper, handwritten, shaky letters. It read, "Why weren't you here last night?" I felt a chill crawl up my neck. He stayed there, holding the note for several minutes, then slowly turned, walked away, and disappeared into the rain again. I quit the job the next week. I told my boss something vague, schedule conflict, family emergency, whatever. I didn't care if he believed me. I haven't seen that man since. Sometimes I still think about him, wonder what he wanted, why he kept showing up, why it felt personal, even though we never really spoke. He never did anything technically, never touched me, never broke in, never raised his voice. But I think about that question he wrote, and I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't skipped that one night. I wonder what he would have done if I had been there.